Welcome to my sewing room. Oh, I have such an exciting show for you today. You are going to see some very magical things. The first thing I would like to share with you is a pair of adorable sandals. Now, these little sandals were just plain pink sandals until my friend Carol Ingram did some machine embroidered appliques and glued them on, and I guarantee you those look like $200 sandals now. To go with these sandals, she simply embroidered a purchased shirt with the same high heel shoes. And if you'll look real carefully on those shoes, you can see there's a little plastic piece that has been appliqued down in the middle. And isn't that fun to have the little fuzzy wuzzies at the top of those little high heel beach shoes? Looks just like a summer party to me. Coming in for your fall season, more shoes. Appliqued on the bottom of a wonderful suit, once again the purchase suit. And I would like to turn this suit around to the back so you can see how you can just applique shoes or any other design you want to on a wonderful purchase jacket and really make it look like it's very expensive. Once again, let's have some more of those adorable little high heel pink shoes. You don't just have to embroider shoes on the top of a jacket. Shoes can also be embroidered on pants. And this makes an incredible outfit. Very, very beautiful. Once again, a purchased outfit. But of course, a lot of us are going to want to make our outfits and then do machine embroidery. Do you have any little girls or little granddaughters? Well, you probably know I have some little granddaughters. What an adorable idea. You can embroider the applique, the little shoe, and by the way, this does have a purchased vinyl as the background for the background, so it looks like Cinderella see-through glass shoes. And then this one is an applique that you applique and then you glue onto the little pink purse. And I know several of my little granddaughters love purses, so this will surely be at the top of my list when I get home. Then we have another wonderful outfit, and this is a real interesting technique here. Carol has used some silk dupioni cut in squares and just simply stitched down on the jacket, and then this wonderful perfume bottle has been embroidered throughout the outfit and the silk dupioni. Once again, we come down here and see this silk dupioni and the perfume bottle and more silk dupioni and more perfume bottle. What a wonderful way to make fun and very expensive looking outfits. Now won't you come on over to the technique boards with me? This adorable color block jacket is our pattern, one of our patterns for this series. Carol has done the most incredible job of doing machine embroidery, the cute little shoes, and putting all of her different colors to make it so much fun. But this is what I really want you to see. Is that the most adorable pocket you've ever laid your eyes on? And I have asked her to share with you exactly how you can have one of these very high fashion, very expensive looking jackets for just plain fun. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today, Carol Ingram. Carol is a designer for Sulky of America, also for Cactus Punch. Carol, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Martha. I'm so happy to be here to share with you and the viewers.
Okay.
Today, as you say, we're going to do the latticework pocket, but I would like to show you this new ultra heavy water soluble stabilizer. This is a piece here, and I can show you. See how nice and heavy this is? See the feel of it?
It is the most exciting stabilizer to come out in a long time.
It's really the most exciting thing to come out because it is so heavy. You do not have to hoop it, and it will hold a multitude of heavy technique on it.
And it's wash away.
And it's wash away. It's water soluble. First of all, to do the pocket that you have on that I have on the jacket, we're going to cut a piece of the stabilizer, and then we have our pattern, which would be on the pattern of the garment that we make. And we're going to take that and just use our Sharpie pen, and we're going to draw our pattern on here. And here I took a ruler, and I just ruled these about 3/4 of an inch was my size. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, because this is a pocket and it's going to be lattice work, we don't want things to fall out, so I'm going to incorporate a thin layer of tooling. And with this, I'm going to place this tooling on the top, but I'm going to use this wonderful spray adhesive. and we're going to hold the spray adhesive high.
And it's temporary.
And it's temporary spray
Yeah,
adhesive.
yeah.
And we're going to hold it 6 to 10 inches. We're going to spray it lightly, and we're going to lay down our tooling like so. And it'll stick. See, you can see where it sticks just like that. At that point, then what we're going to do is we're going to take our project and we're going to use gimp cord. And you know what gimp cord is. Now gimp cord comes cotton, like so, or it also comes in like a nylon. And for this project, you probably, for the cotton, you will want to shrink it, wash it, because we are going to dissolve this away. Okay. And if it's not pre-shrunk, then your little pocket's going to shrink up. So in this time, I'm using this little nylon cord.
Do you recommend using the nylon?
I recommend using the nylon simply because this is going to be washed away.
Okay.
And then we're going to use the different feet. This is a cording foot, a purlin piping foot, and actually what happens is you're going to lay it down on your lines and you're going to put your foot like so, and it's going to you're going to sew right across the top of your cording. You're going to sew one way and then the other way.
And use a piping foot or a purl?
And piping foot. You know, there's different machines. There's several different kinds, but there's some machines that actually have a gimping foot that has kind of a little hook in it that you can hook the cording in, and it'll stick right in there.
Now, what if you just have a zigzag foot? Can you just watch where you're going?
Yes, you can just pay. Well, you've got your lines so you can follow them. And then you're just going, what you're going to do is you're just going to do a nice thin satin stitch across the top. And then you're going to finish all the way around the outside edge. And as you can see, this is what it looks like when it's finished. The stabilizer is so firm that you see there is no hoop. It's just simply sewn right on top. The heaviness shows that you can do this. After that, then we're going to form our appliqué. And the appliqué is simply, we're going to take this nice soft and sheer stabilizer that's nylon. We're going to hoop that. We're going to put puffy foam in, and we're going to embroidery our little shoe pattern. At that point, we're going to take it out of the hoop. We're going to simply pull this away like so, and as you can see, it's just to make it three-dimensional and give it some depth, and it'll pull it apart. After that, we pull it apart and we have this. We're going to trim away the soft and sheer from behind there so that we have a free form applique. When we're finished, we're going to go in here and we're going to trim closely and trim all the way around the outside edge. We're going to put this in water and leave it and let it dissolve after we've sewn this on.
You're going to sew that on first.
Sew that on first, but you can see
before you put it in the water.
Yes, before you put it in the water. You can see that this is so heavy that you can just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding more, and the stabilizer doesn't give away to you. It's a nice, firm, nothing to sew on.
And then put the whole thing, shoe and everything, in the water.
You put the whole thing into the water, and then what you have is this when you're finished.
That is so. You want to put that back down there? Let me, so everybody. That is absolutely fabulous. So
and then all
pretty.
we're going to do is we're going to use.
I was going to say, how did you finish the edge?
We're going to use clear thread, or if you wanted to, you could use the black thread and zigzag around the edge. What I used
attach it to the
attach it to the garment, because the garment is kind of a slicky fabric. What we did was we put a paper iron-on stabilizer on the back and used KK again and sprayed it down, and then just zigzagged around it with the clear thread.
Okay.
And it was just a simple applique pocket. And when you're finished, you have this.
What a wonderful design concept. Making very expensive things with your sewing machine that just look very expensive.
That's right.
Carol, thank you so much. And now Carol has a really wonderful garment construction tip for you. Carol, I was fascinated by your ideas on using temporary spray adhesive to work with difficult fabrics. Would you talk a little bit about that, please?
Certainly. Well, as you see, this beautiful jacket here is really designed so that you can use these wonderful, flimsy, slinky fabrics, but they always want to stay on the floor and they don't want to stay on top of the machine. So one of the nice things about this fabric, or this pattern, is it has this back facing that goes all the way across, and you can attach the back facing into the shoulders, which really gives you some nice form, and it allows this flimsy fabric to hang from this form. And if you want to use shoulder pads, or if you don't, you can use this wonderful spray adhesive to spray your shoulder pads, and then you can put them inside temporarily, and it will give it some more form for this flimsy fabric to hang. Another thing that I really like to do is this flimsy fabric wants to not sew, it wants to slide here and slide there. So I like to spray tissue paper, cut my pattern out of the tissue paper, spray the tissue paper, attach it to the flimsy fabric, and then leave it during the sewing process. You can sew your seams, you have perfect seams, you have no puckering, and then you just pull the tissue paper away after you finish sewing. And you can see that the seams are wonderful, and you have no puckering, and the seams are nice and smooth.
You simply sprayed with this temporary spray adhesive your flimsy fabric to a piece of tissue paper, right, like you wrap presents
just like
with.
Wrapping paper tissue paper.
What a fascinating idea. Carol, thank you so much for sharing. And I also found a new way to put in shoulder
Right.
pads with my temporary spray adhesive.
Right.
And now we have a wonderful section for you, so go get the kids. It's called So Cool for Kids. Kids, for your So Cool for Kids section today, I am so pleased to have my daughter Joanna. Okay, Joanna, what do we have for our kids today?
Today, kids, we are going to make a hat for your baby doll.
Isn't that fun?
It is.
Fold it up.
And I was going to tell you that the material that we have used is polar fleece, and that seems to work the best because it stretches.
Yeah.
It stretches, and I just like to use it. Okay, first of all, you cut your pattern out, and after you've cut it out, it's going to be a rectangle. On one side of the rectangle, you are going to use pinking shears and cut all the way up to the top. And if you don't know what pinking shears look like, here's an example of what they look like.
They have little teeth in them.
Little teeth in them, right? And the second side, you're just going to use regular scissors and cut all the way up. Next, you are going to sew a straight stitch 2 inches from the side that's just plain, like that. Next, well, I'll show you with this one. You are going to fold it in half. And after you fold it in half, you're going to take the edge and you're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. It's just a straight stitch. So after you've folded it and sewn it, it'll look like this. Next, you're going to cut out a strip of your polar fleece and pull it just like that. And it pulls really, really easy. After you've pulled it, we've got to make the fringe for your hat. So I've already started it. You're going to cut out a little make fringe, and they're about 1/2 inch apart from each other.
You're cutting all the way up.
Cutting all the way around,
that
that's right.
line.
All the way around. And actually you can make them as close or as far apart as you want. It's just whatever you prefer. Okay. And after you have made your fringe, what I'll let you do is I'll let you hold it just like this.
I can hold this hat.
You're going to take your piece of fabric and you're going to make a bow to hold all the fringe together. Easy.
And a fun hat to make.
And after you make the bow, you're going to fold the pinking edge about what, 1/2 inch, about an inch,
Well,
2
about an inch and a
inches,
half. Well, listen, you can
whatever
fold as
you
much
want.
as you
All
want
right.
to.
And then there you go, and then it fits right on your baby, just like that.
You know, Joanna, I'm so glad that we've added this So Cool for Kids section to our television series now that you've started doing a kids sewing school in Huntsville. We are just really encouraging all of our kids to sew, and the doll clothes for this series, both of these series, are things that your kids can really sew, as you've seen Joanna to show you on that. We're really glad that you and your kids are joining us in our Martha's Sewing Room. And now, talk about things for kids, Joanna. We have a kids hand embroidery segment for you, and once again, it is embroidery that your child can really do. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today Claudia Newton. Claudia is editorial director of the Fancy Work section of So Beautiful magazine. She has studied embroidery at the Japanese School of Embroidery and at the Royal School of Needlework in London. Claudia, what do you have wonderfully fun for our kids today?
Today, Martha, we're going to put Lazy Daisy flowers on placemats. So it's really easy. You just buy a purchase placemat, and all we're going to do today is decorate it. So let me show you what a Lazy Daisy stitch looks like, and then I'll show you how to make a flower out of them. These are the flowers, and you can see we've put buttons in the center, which is a real easy way to finish it out. So we're going to make 7 little stitches around there to make the petals, and then we'll put a button in the middle. The first thing you'll want to know about this is if you've got a flower shape that looks like this, you don't have to draw the whole thing on the fabric. If you were to do that, sometimes your lines don't get covered up and you forget kind of where you're going. So what you might want to do is make a dot at the inside of the stitch where it'll start close to the center. Then if you put a little line toward the outside, you'll know where each of those petals ends, and then we can go around the circle and make our stitches. Now if you don't like just putting a little line at the end, you can draw the whole petal by putting a straight line there, and that way you'll know where your stitch is going to go. What I'd like to do now is to show you how to make the stitch. I've drawn mine on here, and you can see I have a dot on the inside and my little dash on the outside. I like to start at the top and work towards myself. So I bring my needle in on one of the center dots, bring it through. I make a loop towards myself and back up towards the top. Put my needle in either in the same hole or very close to it. Bring my needle out where that line shows me that the stitch is going to end. You pull it through with the needle over the thread inside the loop and pull it down, but don't stretch it really tight because if you do, it won't stay round. Once you're done, you'll take the needle to the back, and that finishes that stitch. Now what I want to do is to move around to make my next stitch. I come up in the center again on my dot, loop it towards me. I'm going to go back in, either in the same hole or very close to it. Pull the needle through the loop over the end of the stitch, and then tack it down without pulling it too tight. Now, if you have never put on a button, I'd like to show you how to put on a button to finish this flower. So let's do one more stitch, and we'll have about half of a flower, and you can begin to see where the center will go. And let me take this one to the back and cut off my thread, because I'm going to show you a way to put on a button without actually having to sew it on and make knots in the fabric. What you want to do is to take your button and put it in the center where it belongs. And if my fingers are in the way, I'll move them in just a minute. I'm going to poke my needle through and find a hole under there. If you can't find it, poke the needle through first and then find the hole, which is what I'm going to have to do. Bring it to the front, but don't pull it all the way through. Now then, stick the needle through the other hole on the back, turn it over, unthread the needle like this, and then just tie a knot. I think my hands are in the way, but you can see here. There, I've tied a knot. When you're done, clip off the extra thread, and you have a flower with a center made of a button, and you just put as many of these as you want to on your placemat to decorate it.
Claudia, that is so sweet. I love the Lazy Daisy stitch, and I think when I was a
fun.
little girl, that was the first stitch I learned.
Right.
And I know my mother told me that the Lazy Daisy was the first stitch that she learned.
Yes.
I also like your way of sewing on a button.
It's fun.
That is a fun way.
It's easy.
When Joanna was a little girl, she went to Montessori school, and I never shall forget one of the first things they taught at Montessori school was how to sew on a button, and that's a great life skill also.
Yes, it is.
Claudia, thank you so much for that wonderful project, and kids, we're so excited that you're joining us this year on Martha's Sewing Room for the projects that we have developed especially for you. And now I have a perfectly glorious doll dress to share with you. My beautiful, absolutely magnificent doll dress is being worn by Dress Me Mary. Now then, let me just point out some tips. And by the way, for those of you that do make porcelain dolls and enter competitions, a dress like this with its entredeaux and tucks, and once again, let's look over here on the sleeves, released tucks on the sleeves. They only go up a certain way, that's a certain length. That's what a release tuck is. Tucks and then the little bow. And now look at this skirt. And by the way, as I was saying, if you do doll competitions, this dress would certainly be one to enter on your doll in a competition. Now the release tucks is one of the topics we're going to talk about today. You see the folded release tucks, it stops right here. Another thing we're going to talk about today is how to shape lace into a miter. You can see this beautiful skirt that dips down in V's and goes back up, and then it has a wonderful gathered French lace. Well, all the laces are French, and the fabric is Swiss batiste called Nylona. Okay, it really is not hard to do at all. To shape lace on the skirt, we're using the technique called miters. All right, I put pins, and by the way, I do use glass head pins. I put pins along the straight side, pin at the top, pin at the bottom. When I'm getting ready to fold the lace, let me fold it back on itself. Remove the pin that goes through 2 layers, and look, perfect mitering is folded in. All right, let's come along the line again. Let's make that miter again. Pin at the bottom, pin at the top, fold the lace once again, back on itself, remove the pin that goes through 2 layers. Once again, a perfect miter is folded in. That's all there is to making mitered lace on the bottom of this skirt. Here you can see the mitered lace has been stitched with a pin stitch on the top, and we're just waiting to trim it away and put gathered lace edging on the bottom. Now, for those release tucks, I draw my tuck lines all the way around the skirt. These are fold lines where I'm going to fold them before I go to the sewing machine. Here I have the lace look here, the fabric has been cut away from behind my lace on the bottom. I'm just waiting now for gathered lace to be stitched. But what I want to share with you now is the folded tucks. I'm going to finger press. You can touch an iron to this if you want to, but it's just really easy on the cotton fabrics just to finger press. I'm going to use an edge joining foot, and I have my needle set where it'll be just the right width of tuck, and I'm going to straight stitch. And it's very easy if you have one of these edge joining feet. And if you don't have an edge joining foot, you can just simply mark another little line on your sewing machine. Now let me tell you the way, that's the easiest way. Once I'll go very slowly. There we go, I've just reached the bottom. Now I'm going to press my back stitch and go 1, just press the back stitch, and now then it has been completely tied off. That's all I need to do. Let me pull it out. Now, my mother taught me when I was growing up that when you did release tucks or darts, you simply straight stitched down to the bottom of the dart, left long tails of the thread, then you flipped it over to the back, you pull those long tails of the thread back, and you tied them by hand. That's the way Mama said you had to do darts, but we think a back stitch is fine. And now then you can see I have my gathered lace on the bottom of this skirt, and I will complete my folded tucks all the way across. And that is how easy it is to make that beautiful dress. Won't you come along with me to my attic? This blouse is one of the most beautiful in my collection. We were just talking about tucks a few minutes ago, and do you see the magnificent use of tucks? We have wonderful, wonderful hand embroidery, and I think this is so pretty, how it just comes down in a little V and that pretty gathered lace. Do you also see all these wonderful tucks, the release tucks, just like I did on the doll dress a few minutes ago? And then here we have the shaped lace that goes around, and we have more tucks that go in at this particular angle, which makes a lot of interest. And then we have more lace that shapes down again in a curve. And by the way, this dress is done on dotted Swiss. Let's look at some more release tucks. Release tucks make an arc all the way around this beautiful arc-shaped lace, and then diagonal tucks that go on the bottom of the sleeve. This is one of those wonderful blouses that is just as beautiful on the back as it is on the front. I mean, what more can I say? I just turn it around and you see the same number of details. It has a wonderful little petal. You see, it almost looks like a little leaf petal. Anyway, I love this. Thank you so much for joining me in my sewing room today. Please come back next time.